The minivan rolled up slowly toward Rose Haven Elderly Care Center. Inside, the air was thick with silence. Zubair Khan, a 76-year-old Pakistani American, sat upright on the back seat, with a folded prayer cap in his lap. His cloudy eyes stared out of the window, not at the blooming cherry blossoms outside, but far away, into memories only he could see. His son Adil tapped away on his phone while sitting in the front seat. Susan, Adil's American-born wife, adjusted her sunglasses and looked at the building with a forced smile. "Dad, we're almost there," Adil said without turning around. "You'll like it here. Lots of people your age." Zubair didn't reply. He wasn't angry. He wasn't bitter. He just existed. Susan leaned back. "They've got bingo nights, Tai Chi classes, and even a cultural club. Baba, you'll make friends." The van stopped. Adil stepped out and opened the door for his father, helping him down carefully. Zubair used his cane and stepped onto the sidewalk, slow and steady. The sign outside read, "Rose Haven, where golden years shine." Zubair glanced at the name but said nothing. Adil handed the receptionist some papers while Susan adjusted the scarf Zubair had around his shoulders. "It gets chilly here," she said, more out of obligation than care. "We'll visit," Adil said quickly. "Every weekend," Susan added, already backing toward the exit. Zubair gave a soft nod, and then they left. No hug, no long goodbye, just a door that slowly shut behind them. Inside, Nurse Jenny Raymond greeted him with a kind smile. She was in her late 30s, with tired eyes, but a warm tone. "Welcome, Mr. Khan. Let's get you to your room." Zubair followed quietly. His room was small but clean: a bed, a nightstand, a dresser, and a window overlooking a tree that was still waiting for its spring leaves. "Any allergies?" Jenny asked. "No," Zubair replied softly. "I don't eat after Maghrib." She paused for a second. "Maghrib?" Zubair smiled faintly. "Sunset." Jenny smiled back. "Understood." In the dining area, Zubair met the other residents. Most were quiet, lost in their own worlds. A few were chatty. Mrs. Gladys quoted Shakespeare at every meal. Tommy, a grumpy old Navy veteran, wore 2 hearing aids and made it clear he didn't like new people. George believed he was still 34 and that his Tinder date was running late. Zubair sat down with his tray of boiled vegetables and soft bread. He quietly began eating with a spoon. "Hey, newbie, you talk?" Tommy grunted. Zubair looked up. "Only when someone listens." Tommy rolled his eyes. "Great. Another philosopher." That night, in the darkness of his room, Zubair stared at the ceiling. Sleep didn't come easy. His mind drifted back to Karachi. 1978, the year he left for America. A younger Zubair, full of hope, standing at the airport while his wife Salma wiped her tears. "Don't stay too long," she had said. He had promised he wouldn't. He broke that promise. On the 3rd day, the phone rang. Zubair slowly picked up the receiver. "Assalamu alaikum, Beta." "Wa alaikum salam, Dad. Just checking in. Everything okay?" "Yes." "Great. I have a meeting. We'll call later." The line went dead. Zubair looked at the phone for a long time. Then he put it back in its cradle without a word. Later that afternoon, Jenny walked in and was surprised to hear laughter. Zubair was watching something on the community tablet, a YouTube video where a man was switching sugar with salt at restaurants and watching reactions. Jenny laughed too. "What on earth are you watching?" "It's called FunnyFun," Zubair said between chuckles. "Very stupid. Very good. You like pranks?" "Not in real life," he said. "But this is art." From that day, every afternoon, Zubair would ask for the tablet. He became hooked on FunnyFun videos, pranks, silly dance fails, grandma rap battles. Jenny noticed something different. Zubair laughed more. He even offered to help her with a crossword puzzle once. He corrected the dosage notes for Mrs. Gladys. He helped George write a fake Tinder bio. "You sure you're not staff here?" Jenny teased. "I work for free," Zubair replied. She also noticed that he read the Wall Street Journal every morning, carefully circling numbers and articles with a red pen. One day she asked, "You into finance?" Zubair shrugged. Just hobby. But later that evening, he opened a drawer beneath his bed and pulled out an old notebook, leather-bound, with pages yellowed by time. He opened it to the first page. If I disappear one day, this will explain why. He stared at it for a long moment, and then closed it. Outside in the hallway, a janitor picked up Zubair's discarded suitcase tag from the trash. He read the name aloud. Zubair Khan, founder, Techverse Holdings? The janitor blinked. Isn't that some billionaire company? He looked at the trash again, shrugged, and walked off. Back inside room 12B, Zubair lay in bed, eyes closed. Let them forget me, he whispered to the ceiling. That's how surprises work. Days melted into one another at Rosehaven Elderly Care. For Zubair, life had become a series of clockwork events. Breakfast at 7:30, walk at 8:15, medication at 9, and so on. Time was no longer something he chased. It was something that quietly tiptoed past him. He rose early every morning, well before sunrise, to perform Fajr. His back ached, knees groaned, but his hands trembled less when they were raised in prayer. The staff noticed how disciplined he was. No alarms, no reminders. He followed time like an old soldier. After his prayers, he would sit near the window with a Wall Street Journal, a small red pen in hand. He'd circle stock names, underline CEO quotes, and mark economic patterns with the focus of a trained analyst. One morning, Jenny passed by his room and peeped in. He was deep into an article titled, AI Startups Poised to Disrupt Big Pharma. You always read business? She asked. Sometimes poetry, Zubair replied. But numbers are more honest. That line stayed with her. In the dining hall, Zubair had found his corner. The others grew used to his presence. George, still waiting for a Tinder date, now asked Zubair to rate his selfies. Mrs. Gladys insisted he join the poetry night. Tommy, the grumpy vet, remained suspicious. You don't talk much, but you observe a lot. You a spy? Zubair smiled. If I were, I wouldn't admit it. Tommy chuckled. First time in weeks. After lunch, Zubair would request the tablet. FunnyFun had become his secret window to modern absurdity. He loved the fake lottery prank where a man gave strangers a winning ticket. So much drama, Zubair muttered one day, laughing into his tea. He began collecting one-liners from FunnyFun to share with Jenny. Why don't ants get sick? Because they have tiny antibodies. Jenny groaned. That's terrible. You laughed, Zubair replied, triumphant. Later that week, Rosehaven welcomed a new volunteer, a 19-year-old half Pakistani, half American boy named Dylan. He wore a hoodie that said, "Sorry I'm late, I didn't want to come," and carried headphones around his neck like a fashion statement. He had been ordered by court to complete 80 hours of community service for shoplifting a phone case. Rosehaven was his punishment. Dylan's first assignment? Assisting Zubair Khan during mealtimes. He dragged a chair and sat beside him, bored. I'm Dylan. You can call me DJ. I'm Zubair. You can call me Zubair. Dylan snorted. Cool, you're chill. Zubair raised an eyebrow. What does that mean? It means you're not annoying like other old people. Zubair sipped his soup. And you're not as hopeless as you look. That cracked Dylan up. For the first time in a long while, someone wasn't babying him or judging him. This old man had bite. Over the next few days, Dylan started hanging out more. They played chess together. Zubair always won, and Dylan pretended to be mad. You're cheating, old man. No, you just play too fast and think too slow. Jenny noticed the shift. Zubair was more talkative, more animated. Dylan was more respectful, more present. One afternoon, while helping Zubair organize his nightstand, Dylan found a locked drawer. Yo, you got secrets in here? Zubair raised his eyes. You sound like someone who's picked many locks. No, but I can learn. Zubair chuckled. Leave it. Not everything is for everyone. Dylan noticed a document inside the drawer. Peeking out the header read, Techverse class of shares. Confidential. He didn't ask. But something sparked. The next day, Dylan returned with a small chess set he bought from Goodwill. This one's for when I lose and want revenge at home. Zubair looked impressed. You learn. That's rare. Dylan shrugged. You remind me of my Nana. He passed, but he didn't talk much either. Silence is not emptiness, Zubair replied. It's space for thinking. One afternoon, Zubair caught Dylan watching a FunnyFun prank, the one where a guy pretends to be a magician and makes people believe he turned invisible. Zubair leaned in. Magic is not disappearing. Magic is being forgotten, and then returning. That's deep, Dylan said. Zubair winked. Everything I say is, but beneath the laughter, Zubair had begun to notice something darker. Adil hadn't called again. Not once. No weekend visits. No message. Nothing. He kept up the cheerful facade, but every night, he opened his notebook and wrote down a single line. A tree dies standing, but still gives shade. One evening, Jenny brought him a cup of chai she made especially. I heard you were fasting today. You heard right. She sat beside him for a moment. You don't talk much about your past. There's nothing to tell. I worked. I saved. I retired. My sons were supposed to take care of me. They took, and then took off. Jenny looked at him. I'm sorry. Zubair looked at her calmly. I'm not. Not anymore. There was silence. Then Jenny added, You know what? You should tell your story on YouTube, like a podcast. Me? Talk to a screen? Why not? You've got better stories than all these TikTokers combined. Zubair leaned back. Maybe one day. But deep inside, the wheels had begun turning. That night, Jenny gave Dylan a spare key to the community media room. Set up that mic if you want. You're good with tech. As Dylan left Zubair's room, he glanced at the locked drawer again. He didn't open it, but he now understood. Zubair Khan wasn't forgotten. He was hiding. Spring bloomed slowly across the garden outside Rosehaven. Birds returned, cherry blossoms opened, and Zubair Khan's daily tea ritual continued, unchanged. He sat under the gazebo, wrapped in a wool shawl, sipping strong chai Jenny had learned to brew his way, with a lychee and a hint of nostalgia. Dylan slumped into the chair next to him. Yo, Mr. Z, you ever had bubble tea? He asked, popping a straw into a cup the size of a flower vase. Zubair narrowed his eyes. Why are you drinking pudding with a pipe? It's trendy. It's a waste of tapioca. Dylan laughed, then pulled out his phone. So, about that YouTube podcast thing, we can record something, if you're serious. Zubair nodded thoughtfully. What would I say? Anything. Your life story. Wisdom. A message. I'll edit. We can post it to FunnyFun, maybe? Zubair raised an eyebrow. That place is for people throwing cakes at each other. Exactly. Dylan grinned. You'll be the wise old man who drops truth bombs in between the chaos. Zubair sipped his tea. One condition. Shoot. My name doesn't go on it. No full name. Cool. We'll call you the Silent Baba. Mysterious. Poetic. Zubair smiled. Better than Tapioca Prophet. They both laughed. That afternoon, they recorded the first episode. In a quiet corner of the media room, Zubair sat before a mic Dylan borrowed from his friend. The topic was simple. What it means to be invisible in a loud world. Zubair's voice was calm, measured, with heavy pauses that carried more meaning than words. Dylan layered it with soft background piano, added subtitles, and posted it anonymously to a new channel, FunnyFun Voices. It got 312 views in 24 hours. Zubair seemed unimpressed. So my wisdom is worth 300 views? Dylan grinned. Every forest starts with one seed, Baba. But the real surprise came the next day. Zubair was sitting alone in the lounge when Jenny approached, looking confused. Mr. Khan, there's someone here asking for you. Says you were his mentor once. Zubair blinked. Who? He says his name is Marcus Lee, from California. Zubair froze. It had been more than 20 years. He slowly rose and followed Jenny to the front lobby. Standing there was a sharp-suited Chinese-American man in his mid-40s, holding a leather laptop bag and a bouquet of white tulips. Zubair Khan, he said softly, still wearing that same prayer cap. Zubair studied him. Marcus. Jenny politely excused herself. They hugged briefly, awkwardly. I found out you were here through strange means, Marcus said. A tech channel I follow. reposted your voice. I recognized your phrasing. The pauses. It had to be you. Zubair sat down, silent. I didn't know where you'd gone after you resigned. You just disappeared, Marcus continued. Zubair looked at him evenly. Because I wanted to. You know, Techverse is now valued at 18.2 billion. And your patents are still the backbone of our AI framework. I'm aware. Marcus leaned forward. You walked away from everything. Not everything, Zubair replied. I brought regret with me. Dylan, watching from around the corner, was stunned. Wait, Techverse? That's like Google level. After Marcus left that day, Zubair seemed different, quieter, but not tired. Like a lion who remembered his roar but chose not to use it anymore. That night, Dylan stormed into his room. Dude, you're Techverse Zubair Khan? The guy in all those coding history videos? You invented the early adaptive AI core? Zubair didn't deny it. But why would you leave all that? Because I thought building something would earn me loyalty. Instead, it earned me lawsuits and silence. He handed Dylan a folded paper. Read this tomorrow. It's the real origin of Techverse. Before Marcus, before funding, before betrayal. The paper contained hand-drawn schematics, code lines written in pen, and a letter addressed to my sons if they ever care. Dylan was stunned. You're sitting on a gold mine. No, Zubair said softly. I'm sitting on my past. Gold mines are for those who dig. The next morning, Jenny knocked with good news. Your podcast episode? It crossed 15 views overnight. Someone stitched it with a FunnyFun prank. It went viral. Zubair blinked. They edited my words into a man falling off a trampoline? Jenny showed him the clip. Zubair's voiceover. In a world of noise, silence is the only rebellion. While a man in a chicken suit flew across the screen, Zubair chuckled, then laughed. Maybe I'm finally famous. Infamous, Dylan corrected. Later, Marcus sent a courier package. Inside, old Techverse share certificates still under Zubair's name. Just in case you ever want to come back, the note read. Zubair put it in his drawer beneath the red notebook. Not yet. He wasn't done being invisible. Not until they learned what forgetting really meant. The garden was beginning to glow with late spring colors. Zubair Khan, sitting under his usual tree, was now a known figure on the FunnyFun Voices channel. His deep voice, timeless thoughts, and moments of sharp wit had gained thousands of followers. Yet, none of that reached the people who mattered most, his sons, until one day, it did. He was sipping his afternoon chai when Jenny walked over with a brown envelope. From your son, she said. Adil Khan. Zubair took it silently. His fingers hesitated before opening it. Inside, a letter and a folded sheet of typed paper. Dear Dad, hope you're doing well. Susan and I have been thinking a lot about opportunities lately. There's a property we're looking to invest in. It's near San Jose. Great appreciation potential. I was wondering if you could help us out with 75-0. We'll pay you back in installments. The rest of the letter was generic. Something about how family is forever, and how you taught me about ambition, remember? It ended with, let me know by Friday. We want to make an offer this weekend. There was no, how are you? No, I miss you. Just money. Zubair folded the letter, placed it back in the envelope, and slipped it into the drawer with the others. Jenny watched him carefully. Want to talk about it? No, Zubair said. There's nothing new in the message. Same words, just different currency. Later that night, he pulled out his old red notebook, page 12. Adil, 4th time requesting money in 2 years. No mention of health, no question about well-being, just balance sheets, just numbers. I raise businessmen, not sons. The next morning, Zubair called Jenny and asked, Can I borrow your typewriter? She smiled. You're going old school? I'm writing something permanent. By noon, he had typed out a new will, quietly, precisely, without emotion. In it, he named Jenny and Dylan as joint caretakers of his remaining estate. The few properties, stocks, and one very specific clause regarding Techverse shares. To my sons, I leave this letter. I once gave you life, And then I gave you opportunity. Since you invested neither in return, this is your final dividend, nothing. That evening, he placed the new will in the locked drawer beneath the share documents. On top, he taped a single post-it, to be opened only after my disappearance. Meanwhile, Dylan was noticing how tense Zubair had become. The usual jokes were fewer, the eyes sharper, the quiet heavier. "You okay, Baba?" he asked. Zubair replied softly. "The ghosts of blood are louder than any strangers." That night, Jenny brought a surprise. She had taken audio from Zubair's old cassette recordings, dusty tapes stored in his suitcase, and cleaned them up digitally. They were stories Zubair used to tell his wife when she was dying. Stories of struggle, hope, funny village gossip, and his own childhood embarrassments. Jenny handed him a headphone jack. Play button is love, stop button is memory. Zubair listened to one. It was him, 15 years younger, pretending to be a donkey in a children's story. He laughed, then cried, then laughed again. Dylan walked in. "You ever think of doing a video version of this?" he asked. "Like Storytime, a digital diary." Zubair didn't reply, but he opened the drawer and handed Dylan something. A faded photo of Zubair, young and proud, standing outside a startup office with a sign that said, "Project Vertex, the beginning of Techverse." Dylan stared. "You started it? Completely alone?" "I started it," Zubair said, "with 3 things: an old laptop, 2 cups of chai, and no one who believed in me. But you left it all." "I didn't leave. I chose peace." "But now you're poor." Zubair gave him a look. "Who said I'm poor?" Dylan paused. Zubair continued. "The person who needs nothing is richer than everyone who wants everything." The next day, a letter arrived. Another one from Adil. This time, more urgent. "Dad, I don't think you understand the urgency. We're losing time here. I know you have funds. Just this one time. Please don't complicate this. I have a family." Zubair took out a blank paper. On it, he wrote just one line. "Family is not built on guilt." He mailed it back. Later, in the hallway, Tommy, the grumpy vet, saw Zubair smiling to himself. "What's the joke, philosopher? Some investments mature when you stop feeding them." Tommy grinned. "You're dangerous, old man." "I've always been," Zubair said. "I just forgot how to act like it." That night, Dylan uploaded a new podcast. When people stop visiting, they don't forget you. They erase you. The video crossed 75, 0 views in a day, and someone unexpected saw it. Back in California, Adil's wife Susan stumbled upon the clip on TikTok. "That's your father's voice," she said. Adil froze. "What is he doing on the internet?" "Teaching people how to be a better father than you," Susan replied. Adil slammed his laptop shut. But it was too late. The world had started listening, and the sons who had forgotten were now being remembered. The air outside Rosehaven had grown warm and thick with summer's breath. Inside, however, Zubair Khan's heart was colder than ever. He sat silently in the common room, watching the clock, less frequent. He stopped watching FunnyFun videos. Even the podcast recordings had paused. Dylan asked gently one evening, "Want to do the next voiceover, Baba? It's trending again." Zubair shook his head. "Not today." Dylan nodded and left the room quietly, but not before exchanging a worried glance with Jenny. That night, Zubair opened his red notebook once again. On a fresh page, he wrote, "If you want to measure love, fake your weakness, and watch who arrives with strength." Then he picked up the phone. "Jenny," he said, "I need your help. Something dramatic." Jenny tilted her head. "How dramatic are we talking?" Zubair leaned closer. "I want you to call my sons. Tell them I've collapsed." Jenny froze. "Sir, no, not really collapsed. Just pretending. Let's see what's more valuable in their father's life, or what they think they can get from it." Jenny sighed. "That's cruel." "No," Zubair said. "It's closure." And so, the next morning, Rosehaven called Adil. "Mr. Khan, this is Nurse Jenny from Rosehaven. I'm calling about your father. We had to put him on bed rest this morning." He was found on the floor, weak pulse, no injury, but very low responsiveness. There was a pause. "Oh," Adil said. "So like, he's conscious?" "He's stable now, but not speaking." "Okay. Okay. Keep me posted." He hung up. "No. Should I come?" "No. I'll book a flight." Zubair, listening in on speaker, closed his eyes. Then, an hour later, a message arrived on his phone. From his younger son, Bilal, whom he hadn't heard from in over 8 months. "Heard, you're not well. Listen, I need to know if you've updated your will. If anything happens, I'd like to be informed properly. Please respond." Zubair laughed. Not loudly, but bitterly. Jenny stood at the door, speechless. "You okay, Mr. Khan?" Zubair wiped his eyes. "Yes, I'm not dying. But something definitely has." That evening, Jenny and Dylan joined him for tea. Zubair looked at them, calm but distant. "When my wife passed away, I cried for weeks," he said. "She was my compass. When my son stopped calling, I didn't cry. I waited. That was worse. Waiting rots the soul." Dylan placed a hand on his shoulder. "You're not alone." Zubair gave a faint smile. "I know that now." Jenny cleared her throat and handed him something, a framed print of the FunnyFun Voices channel page, now verified with 108,000 subscribers. "They're listening, Zubair, all over the world. Your story matters." Zubair stared at the frame. "It matters to strangers." Dylan shook his head. "Not strangers. Listeners, seekers, survivors." Then Jenny asked the question neither of them had dared ask before. "Do you want to record something tonight?" Zubair nodded slowly. And so, they recorded the next episode. The lights dim, a single mic in the center, Zubair's voice low and deliberate. "When people ask what hurts more, being abandoned or being betrayed, I answer, betrayal. Because abandonment is forgetting, but betrayal? That's remembering, and still choosing to hurt. I faked my illness, and no one came. If you're listening, and you have someone older in your life, don't wait for guilt to find you. Call them, visit them, before life ends your chance." When the video went up that night, it hit 1 million views in less than 48 hours. The comment section flooded with tears, confessions, regrets, and thanks. "My dad passed last year. I didn't visit him for 6 months. I'm broken. This old man is more real than half my family. Who is he? Give him an award." But Adil and Bilal still didn't call. What they did send, however, was a lawyer's letter. Jenny opened it, stunned. They're requesting financial disclosure and inheritance details. Zubair smiled. "Then it's working." Dylan was furious. "They want your money now because they think you're about to die?" "No," Zubair said. "They think I'm about to vanish, and the only thing people chase more than life is loss." Later that night, Zubair opened his drawer. He took out a sealed envelope labeled, "To be opened only after I vanish." Then he added a new line beneath it. "If I survive this, destroy this letter. If I don't, let them read every word." Then, for the first time in many days, he asked Dylan, "Tablet?" Dylan smiled. "FunnyFun?" "Yes," Zubair said. "Let's see who's throwing cake at who today." Rain tapped gently against the glass window of room 12B as Zubair Khan stared at the cloudy Virginia sky. A faint smile danced on his lips. He'd spent most of his life building, sacrificing, and then letting go. But even letting go, he realized, sometimes left traces behind. Dylan walked in, drenched and panting. "You won't believe this." Zubair looked up calmly. "Try me." Dylan placed a laptop on the table, opened a document, and said, "This is a full white paper from 1997 titled Vertex AI Predictive Loop Z Khan, PhD. It's your signature. It's you." Zubair blinked. "I remember." Jenny joined them moments later, holding an envelope. "This came in just now from TechFirst headquarters in San Francisco." She placed it before Zubair, who casually opened it like it was another grocery coupon. But what was inside wasn't ordinary. "Mr. Zubair Khan, As per your silent Class A co-founder status, the following is a breakdown of your untouched holdings in Techverse Inc. Post-2024 stock split. It listed a net worth of $92.4 million, Jenny gasped. Mr. Khan. Zubair folded the letter. I never touched it. Why not? Dylan nearly shouted. Zubair looked at them, calm and unmoved, because every time I tried to help someone with it, they saw me as a wallet, not a man. He stood and walked to the window. I funded my brother's visas. They disappeared. I helped my college roommate during the recession. He sold my patent idea as his own. My wife, she understood. But after she passed, it was just me. Then came the children. I gave and gave, until I was just a dispenser with a beard. Jenny sat down slowly. You've been living like a regular retired man, while you were a hidden millionaire. Zubair turned to face them. No, I was a hidden lesson. He opened his red notebook and turned to a bookmarked page. The difference between inheritance and legacy. Inheritance is what you leave behind. Legacy is what you live behind. Jenny felt a lump in her throat. Dylan looked stunned. Then Zubair pulled out a small safe box from under his bed. He opened it in front of them. Inside were 3 objects. A USB drive labeled Genesis Code. A small key. A sealed envelope marked, To Jenny, Dylan, when I'm truly gone. He looked at them, serious now. The USB has the original adaptive AI algorithm I wrote, the one that got stolen and renamed. It's cleaner, faster, and still better than what they use today. Jenny's hands trembled as she took it. Zubair handed Dylan the key. That's for a storage locker in Fairfax. Inside is my original laptop, some old notebooks, and a briefcase with cash. How much cash? Dylan asked. Enough to buy this facility twice, Zubair said flatly. Both of them were speechless. Why are you giving this to us? Jenny asked. Because you listened and never asked for anything. But we're not family, she added. Zubair smiled sadly. That's why you deserve it. Suddenly, a loud knock came at the door. Nurse Raymond poked her head in. Mr. Khan? There are 2 gentlemen here to see you. One says he's your son. Zubair sighed. Jenny and Dylan exchanged glances. Adil and Bilal walked in moments later, suits on, eyes hollow. Dad, Adil said, performing the world's most awkward hug. We came as soon as we could, Bilal followed. We were worried. Jenny said you collapsed? Zubair sat on his bed, silent, arms crossed. I'm fine, he finally said. But your concern is touching. They sat, fidgeting. We also heard things about Techverse, about assets, Adil said, his voice calculated. Really? Zubair said. From who? Some tech blog reposted a voice clip. Then your old partner Marcus did a podcast. And then Susan Googled you. Zubair stared at them. And what did the internet say? That you're worth millions, Bilal said. Is that true? Zubair smiled. Would it change how you treat me? They looked uncomfortable. Dylan watched from behind the curtain, recording audio. Adil cleared his throat. We just want to help you manage things properly, Dad. This place, it's kind of basic. Not all gold lives in mansions, Zubair said. Some prefer silence. Adil stood. Look, we're just trying to reconnect. No, Zubair said sharply. You're trying to collect. Both sons went quiet. Then Zubair reached into the nightstand and pulled out 2 envelopes. These were the wills I wrote for both of you. 1 each, when I still believed you might love me without price tags. He tore them in half. Bilal stepped forward. You can't do that. Zubair stood now taller than he seemed in weeks. I can. And I just did. Silence. Jenny walked in with firm resolve. Visiting hours are over. Dylan stood beside her. And the internet just saw everything. Adil turned. What? Dylan held up his phone. Live stream. 2,000 watching. Say hi to FunnyFun. They stormed out. Zubair sat down slowly and laughed. Not from joy, but from exhaustion. I never wanted revenge, he said. Jenny whispered, "But you got it anyway." Zubair looked at Dylan. "Ready to record the next episode?" Dylan nodded. "Always." The next morning, Room 12B woke up famous. Zubair's confrontation video, the raw, heart-shattering livestream with his sons, had crossed 6.1 million views overnight on the FunnyFun Voices channel. The title read, "They came for his will, but he gave them the truth." Comments exploded. "Protect this man at all costs. He speaks with the weight of 1,000 forgotten parents. My dad died before I could say sorry. This broke me." Twitter, Instagram, even LinkedIn all were now quoting Zubair Khan. The world had found its voice in a quiet man with no microphone, just truth. By noon, Good Morning America emailed Jenny requesting a Zoom interview. NPR called the next hour. A Harvard professor even asked for permission to include Zubair's podcast clips in a new course, Ethics of Aging in the Digital World. Zubair watched it all with his usual quiet calm. "Ironic," he said, "that now when I say less, more people listen." Jenny laughed. "You're officially an influencer, Mr. Khan." Dylan nodded. "No, he's a philosopher disguised as a grandpa." Rosehaven, once a quiet hallway of beeping machines and card games, had transformed into a production house. Journalists arrived. Students dropped off handwritten letters. Even the cook tried to spice up Zubair's chai. They called him the Digital Dada, and everywhere, his phrases were now viral audio bites. Legacy is not what you leave behind, but who remembers your silence. Inheritance ends with money, but memory lives on. Love that arrives late is still love, but it owes an apology. One day, Jenny walked in holding a letter with trembling hands. "This is from the White House." Zubair blinked. "I didn't apply for a job." "No, but they want to feature your voice in their American Immigrant Heroes campaign." Zubair laughed. "Tell them they're 20 years late." "You still want me to decline?" Zubair looked thoughtful. "Tell them. I'll think about it." But while the world celebrated the voice of Zubair Khan, one shadow refused to fade. Adil. He had gone silent since the live stream. But Dylan, ever curious, did some digging. What he found wasn't comforting. "Baba," he said one evening, "I think Adil's planning something. I saw court filings. He's trying to claim mental instability to gain financial power of attorney." Zubair raised his brows. "Clever, very legal, very cold. He says you're being manipulated by us." Jenny clenched her fists. "Manipulated? We were here when no one else was," Zubair exhaled. "That's how cowards fight, not with blades, but with rumors." Next morning, Rosehaven received to visit 2 lawyers in suits, holding documents. "We're here to conduct an informal mental capacity assessment on Mr. Zubair Khan, as requested by his family." Jenny's face flushed red. "Without his consent?" Zubair walked into the lobby wearing a crisp white kurta and a grin. "No need for papers," he said. "Let's talk." The lawyers began their questions: memory recall, logical puzzles, abstract reasoning. Within 10 minutes, Zubair had them laughing. "Spell world backward?" one lawyer asked. Zubair replied, "Sure, but first tell me what world you mean. The cruel one, the digital one, or the lonely one?" Both lawyers passed him instantly. Zubair added with a smirk, "Tell Adil the only thing unstable here is his conscience." That night, Dylan uploaded the audio to FunnyFun Voices titled, "They Tried to Prove He Was Crazy." He gave them a lecture instead. It reached 9 million views, but fame has its price. 3 nights later, Jenny returned to the facility from her evening shift and noticed something strange. Zubair's room had been tampered with. His drawer where the USB drive, tech-first documents, and legacy letters were kept had been forced open. Jenny's heart stopped. She ran to the security room. No camera inside room 12B, but hallway footage showed a blurry figure in a hoodie, tall, entering Zubair's room at 1:12 a.m. and leaving at 1:19. When Zubair found out, he simply said, "It started." Dylan panicked. "What if they leak your code? What if they erase your voice?" Zubair touched his heart. No one can erase a man who lived invisible and still made the world feel seen. Jenny wept that night. This wasn't just a podcast anymore. It was war. But Zubair was finally ready to fight. It was a Monday morning. The sun rose lazily over Rosehaven. Birds chirped. The smell of oatmeal lingered in the hallway. And Nurse Raymond was halfway through his second cup of bad coffee when something strange happened. Zubair Khan didn't show up for Fajr, nor for breakfast, nor for his usual 10 a.m. tea by the window. Jenny knocked on room 12B. No response. She pushed the door open slowly. The room was empty. Bed perfectly made. The drawer open. The red notebook missing. No sign of forced exit. No packed bags. No note. No footprints. Just one thing remained on the nightstand. A single chai cup. Still warm. Still steaming. Dylan was called in immediately. He stared at the untouched room, hands trembling. He wouldn't just leave, not without telling us. Jenny walked to the desk and found something taped under the drawer. A folded note, scribbled in Zubair's bold, graceful handwriting. "Don't look for me. Find my silence. There you'll find me." Panic spread across Rosehaven. Staff searched every hallway, garden, back gate. Dylan ran through the woods behind the facility, shouting, "Baba! Baba! Please!" Nothing. By afternoon, the news broke. Famous elderly philosopher and Techverse co-founder vanishes from Virginia facility, foul play suspected. YouTube exploded. TikTok tributes flooded in with sad music and captions. He gave the world a voice. And now he's gone silent. The forgotten grandfather is missing, but his words echo forever. A candlelight vigil formed outside Rosehaven that evening. Strangers arrived with flowers, candles, and printed quotes of Zubair's wisdom. Jenny barely held it together. I should have checked on him sooner. Dylan sat on the garden bench where Zubair usually drank his tea, fists clenched. He knew. He planned this. He pulled out his phone and opened FunnyFun Voices. Their scheduled for 7 p.m. that evening was a new video. The title? "If you're watching this, I've already left." Dylan hit play. Zubair's voice filled the night air like a ghost. "You searched for me in rooms, but I never lived in walls. You searched in hospitals, but I died years ago when my son stopped saying, 'Dad.' Don't mourn me. Understand me. And pass that understanding forward." The comments came pouring in. "This feels like a goodbye letter from someone who saved my life. Why does this hurt more than any fiction ever has? He's not missing. He's eternal." By midnight, the video had 12 million views, but no trace of Zubair. No phone ping. No bank activity. No CCTV footage of him leaving. Like he'd vanished. Into air. The next day, Jenny received a package via courier. No return address. Inside was the red notebook. Every page filled. Poetry, life lessons, regret, humor, sketches, and then the final 2 pages. One had a drawing. Zubair sitting under a tree with Dylan and Jenny laughing. The other, a poem. "When my name fades from lips and files, when my sons no longer dial, don't weep for what the world erased. Remember the echo I embraced. Below it, this legacy is yours now. ZK." Jenny and Dylan embraced, sobbing, and just when hope felt lost. 3 days later, on the sidewalk outside a university in Boston, a man handed a professor a flash drive. He wore a white kurta, a prayer cap. No one saw where he went after. The flash drive? It contained a lecture titled, "Silence, the Most Honest Sound," by Zubair Khan. Voice crystal clear, eyes hidden from the camera. He was alive, but gone. By choice. Weeks passed. Room 12B remained untouched. No new clues. No sightings. Zubair Khan had vanished like the final line of a forgotten poem. But in the silence, something beautiful began to grow. Dylan and Jenny sat together at the FunnyFun Voices desk, surrounded by letters from all over the world, handwritten notes from India, Pakistan, Kenya, Brazil, Norway, even a small village in Alaska, all thanking the grandfather who taught them how to grieve, forgive, and speak. One letter said, "I never met my father, but listening to him felt like finally being raised. Miriam K., 17, Uganda." Another, "I was going to take my life. Then I heard his words. Even forgotten souls matter. He saved me. Anonymous, 32, Canada. The voice of one invisible man had become a global echo. FunnyFun Voices now had over 5 million subscribers. Universities began teaching his words. Counseling centers played his clips to patients. TechVerse, the very company that once erased him, published a public tribute. To our silent founder, we hear you now. Jenny sat with Dylan in the small podcast studio they had built inside Rosehaven. It had been renamed the Zubair Room. Dylan leaned into the mic. Episode 75, Letters to the Grandfather Who Left, but Stayed Forever. He played voicemails from listeners, one by one. Baba Zubair, I'm sorry I ignored my dad for years. You taught me that leaving doesn't mean abandoning. Thank you. Jenny then joined. We have something special today, she said. A new submission. We received it from a monastery in Morocco. She played the clip. Zubair's voice filled the studio again. If you're hearing this, then I'm somewhere with fewer wires and more trees. You don't have to be remembered by your name, be remembered by your impact. Your voice matters. Use it while you have it. Dylan swallowed hard. You miss him? Jenny smiled through tears. Every day. But we're not alone. And they weren't. Because now, every Friday, millions of people from every corner of the earth tuned in to FunnyFun Voices, not for jokes, not for drama, but for truth. They listened to Dylan and Jenny, who carried forward Zubair's legacy, turning forgotten stories into remembered lives. One episode featured stories of abandoned elders in refugee camps. Another, a blind poet in Lahore who said Zubair's words taught him to write again. A third, a grandmother from Mexico who had never spoken into a mic but recorded her entire life story for her grandchildren after watching FunnyFun Voices. In every voice, a piece of Zubair lived. But then came the moment no one expected. During episode 100, a celebration stream, a super chat came in. Hello, Dylan. Hello, Jenny. I'm watching from very far away. Please have a cup of chai on me. ZK Jenny gasped. Dylan's hands shook. The chat exploded. Is that him? He's alive. Zubair lives, Jenny whispered. He's still with us. Dylan looked into the camera and smiled. Thank you, ZK, wherever you are. The livestream ended with Zubair's most famous quote now printed across the screen. If they forget your name, make sure they remember your meaning. Autumn had begun to paint the world gold. Leaves fell gently outside Rosehaven, now renamed Zubair Center for Elder Voices. It wasn't just a care home anymore. It had become a sanctuary of stories, truth, and humanity. Inside room 12B, now kept as a museum-like memorial, visitors came daily to sit in Zubair's chair, sip chai, and reflect. One quiet morning, Jenny entered with a dusty brown envelope she found hidden inside a false drawer during a maintenance check. On it, to be opened only when silence becomes unbearable. Zubair Khan. Jenny and Dylan sat together, hearts pounding, hands trembling. The world outside still, like even nature was listening. She opened the envelope. Inside, a letter. A real handwritten 7-page letter. Zubair's final words. Dylan began reading aloud for their podcast's final episode. The Forgotten Grandfather, episode 101, his final words. If you're reading this, I've likely faded into dust, leaves, or wind, all the same to me. This world taught me two things. Love isn't always loud, and silence isn't always empty. I wasn't a perfect father. I failed in ways no one saw. But I loved in ways no one remembered. To Adil and Bilal, if you ever hear this, know that I waited for years, with a heart full of letters I never sent. If you regret what you became, that's okay. So do I. But regret is just love that arrived too late. To Jenny, my daughter, not by blood, but by spirit. You gave me back my dignity. You saw me when even mirrors refused. Thank you. To Dylan, my son, in every way that counts. You reminded me what purpose feels like, and you turned my whispers into a revolution. To my listeners, my silent family scattered across oceans, don't mourn me. Remember what I remembered, that every human, no matter how forgotten, has a story worth telling. And lastly, to myself, forgive me for waiting too long to live again. Jenny wiped her tears, voice cracking. That's the end. But Dylan noticed something tucked behind the letter. Another note, shorter, scribbled in haste. P.S. If they ever make a movie about me, let it be in black and white, with chai stains, and one good joke in every scene. They laughed, through tears. And that was Zubair. Warm, wounded, witty, wise. That night, the final episode aired. Viewers around the globe tuned in. From Karachi to Chicago, Delhi to Detroit, Lahore to Lisbon, people listened, and in that listening, healed. Months later, a university in Toronto named its audio lab the Zubair Khan Listening Room. FunnyFun Voices became a registered nonprofit, helping elders record their life stories. Dylan published a book, Echoes of the Forgotten. It became a bestseller. Jenny started Letters for the Living, a program that delivered voice messages from elders to estranged family members worldwide. And then, one day, a boy named Rohan, age 8, stood at the Zubair Center, holding his grandfather's hand. He asked, "Who was Zubair?" The old man smiled. He was a man who turned his silence into a song and taught the world how to listen. If this story touched your heart, let Zubair's voice live on. Subscribe, like, and share this video with someone who needs to remember the forgotten. This is FunnyFun, where stories become legacies. Thanks for watching FunnyFun series. See you tomorrow with a new FunnyFun story. Who was Zubair? The old man smiled. He was a man who turned his